welcome to the Introvert's Guide to the College Roller Coaster Ride. I'm your host, Olivia Gilmore, a senior at Berry College, and each Wednesday I'll be reflecting on one crazy, insane story from my time in college, or sometimes before, that I may have never mentioned, and you'll get to see why my class voted me as the one with the best crazy stories to tell. We might get a little scientific, a little philosophical, or a little introspective, and by the end, I guarantee you'll be thinking I might just have the worst luck ever. But I promise I'm just fine and along for the ride. So sit back, relax and chill, maybe grab a bag of popcorn, and get ready to laugh and cry right along with me. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope your life won't ever be as crazy as mine. Enjoy! Well, hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Introvert's Guide to the College Roller Coaster Ride. I am literally so excited that you're here. And gosh, this podcast has been a long time in the making. Honestly, ever since all of these stories started happening to me, I thought, what if I just put them on the internet in a form of a podcast? But I never thought I'd actually do it until a couple weeks ago when I was having dinner with one of my friends. And I don't know how we got on this subject, but we just started rehashing all of my crazy college stories. And finally she's like, Olivia, you should just make a podcast. And I thought, what the heck, I'll actually do it. So here we are. I have no idea if anyone's even going to care or listen to this, but I thought I would have a fun time kind of rehashing all of this since I am a senior now. My time at Berry College is finishing up, which is beyond crazy, because sometimes it feels like I just started here. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. I thought before I would jump right into the insanity with all my stories, and you guys are like, what is wrong with this girl? Does she just have the worst luck ever? Yeah, I kind of do, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, I thought I'd give you all a little bit of background context with these first two episodes. And I promise every week will not be in chronological order like this, but I thought to kind of give you a sense of where I'm kind of coming from, how I got to Berry, how I got myself in these predicaments in the first place, and all of that. I would kind of give you a little bit of backstory into why I chose Berry, why Berry was the only school I applied to, what the college application process was like, all of that stuff. And then kind of next week with the part 2 of the background and kind of like my first week of college, adjusting to college, all of that. There's several insane stories, but to go along with that, but nothing like deserving of its own episode kind of, and kind of kick that off. And then the following week we'll get into some real college craziness. So anyway, I thought with today, take things back to approximately 4 years ago. Let's see, that was July of 2020 is where we'll kick things off. And right now it is mid-August of 2024, which is crazy. I go back to school next week and I'm not ready for that. I mean, I am and I'm not. Like, my last summer in college is coming to a close and that is crazy. I've had a lot of fun times this summer. Not ready for school again, but you know what? I don't have to take organic chemistry and physics anymore, and I am very happy about that. And I have my own apartment, which I never thought would happen in college, so I'm very grateful for all of that. But yeah, can't believe I've lived here for almost 3 years now, entirely. That's crazy. Anyway, we are going to go ahead and take things back to the year that no one wants to remember, 2020. It is mid-July, and my family was supposed to go on this trip to British Columbia, Canada, because my younger brother is very into mountain biking, and Whistler, this town in British Columbia, is basically like the mountain biking capital of the world. Well, of course, everyone knows what happened in 2020. We had a worldwide pandemic, and we obviously were not able to go to Canada. Not to mention the fact that 2 weeks before this trip we were supposed to go on, my brother actually was in a very serious mountain biking accident and got impaled and almost died in the hospital. So we definitely were not going on this trip, but my parents took pity on us, and we decided to go to one of the few places that was taking vacationers at the time, which was this resort on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. So we are there for the week, and I remember this is about probably 2 weeks before the college applications and all that opened, and I remember walking on the beach with my family, and my dad looks at me dead in the face and goes, "You need to apply to more than one school." Because at this point, I was dead set on just applying to Berry and going there because I think two years before that, I had gone to this vet camp for high schoolers at Clemson University, and we basically did all of this vet-related things, from palpating cows to observing vets at a spay and neuter clinic, herding sheep in like 100-degree weather and humidity. Like, it was crazy. Did it all and decided, yes, I still want to do this. So after that, I think I looked more closely at small schools because I knew I wanted to go to a small school that had good pre-vet programs, and I went to a college fair that year that also introduced me to Barry. And I remember talking with one of the admissions counselors, and they were just really nice and really welcoming, and I thought, oh, this might be a good school for me. And then I think, looking at their website or something after vet camp and thinking like, they have a really good pre-vet program, would love to come here. And that September of 2018, actually, when I was just a fresh sophomore in high school, I had my first college tour with Barry, and I remember sitting in this room at the admissions office, and we had to like say what grade we were to like the other people in our tour group, and everyone's like a junior or a senior, and my mom goes, she's a sophomore. The whole group's like, what is this sophomore doing here already? And I was like, I'm ready to leave the house. Like, I just want to go to college and like be on my own and be independent, because that's how I've been since I was like 5. So anyway, toured Barry every year after that. Ironically, I think it was literally March 6th of 2020, so a few days before the pandemic was declared, I was at Barry on this specific animal science unit tour at the old animal science building, which, if you're not familiar with Barry, it's basically this, we have a new building now, it's like adjacent to our main science building, but at the time the animal science building was this old rundown slaughterhouse that was a good half a mile probably from the main campus, and I like observed classes in there and stuff, and by the grace of God, I never had actually have a class in there. My class was the first one to actually use the building full time, the new one, but anyway, I was literally sitting in this classroom in that old slaughterhouse, and the professor's like, oh yeah, spring break next week, you'll have a great time, and all the students like, yay, I'm like so excited for spring break. And then looking back, I'm thinking, those students never came back to campus. Like, that's crazy to think about. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the pandemic was 4 years ago either. That's wild. Anyway, I remember, we're on this beach in Hilton Head, and I'm fighting with my parents about only applying to Barry. And I'm like, look, we save money if I only apply to Barry. I don't know why you're fighting me so hard on this. Like, and I'm like, not to be that person, but like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get in. Like, I worked really hard to be where I'm at right now. And finally they agreed. They're like, okay, you can apply early decision to Barry, and if you get in, you don't have to apply anywhere else. And lo and behold, I put my heart and soul into this dang application. I think August 1st was when it opened, and I was there at my computer filling it out, just like my parents said I would be, because I was very ready. And I don't even know. We'll get into it more later in later episodes, but high school was just not the best for me, not the best time at all. I was very ready to leave, and I definitely didn't go to a traditional high school either. Didn't have the traditional high school experience at all, but and that was one of the reasons I was like so excited for college, because I thought, finally, like, everyone says this is the best 4 years of your life, like, everyone's so excited to go to college and have those experiences and whatever. So I was very ready. And I remember, like, we had a list of prompts that our essay could be about, and I thought, what's like the most unique one that I can do? And this is gonna give you a little insight into who I am as a person. Most people are like, tell me about like a challenge that you faced or overcame, or like something like that were like the main prompts. And then there was one that was like, what's something that you can just sit and do for hours and never get bored, and why is that, and all this and everything. Like, most people are going to say some hobby or something, but I know what I'm going to say. Studying the expansion of the universe and like how big everything can be. So that's what I wrote my college application essay on, was how big the universe is. And this specific app that I have on my phone that I still do to this day, that is still one of my favorites. And It basically explores everything in the universe on a size scale from the Planck length, which is basically like the smallest unit of measurement possible, and it's 10 to the power of the negative 35th. So very, very, very small. Can't even comprehend that. All the way up to the size of the observable universe, which is 10 to the 26th power. So yeah, very small, and basically it puts humans right in the middle, and I think it's like the coolest thing, and it is something that I could talk about and study for hours. Basically like how a human to a star is on the same size scale as an atom to a person, and like you can't even comprehend that. I just think all that stuff is so fascinating and so cool. But anyway, yeah, obviously enough to write an entire essay about. So I thought, just for kicks and giggles, that I would read the opening paragraph to this essay, because I think it's so funny. So that is what we'll do. So August 30th, 2020, titled How Numbers in Science Fascinate Me to No End, by Olivia Gilmore. Ever since I was a little girl, I have been fascinated with large numbers and what makes up the universe. When I was 5 years old, I counted straight to 1,000,000, even though it took me several months to do so. To this day, I can research everything from what is beyond the universe to what makes up a subatomic particle and never get bored. Trying to comprehend huge numbers is something that will never bore me, and I often exhaust all of the available online resources trying to learn more about them. The concept of extraordinarily vast and complex numbers captivates me because it helps me to comprehend the immense mystical expanse of the universe, encouraging me to pursue a career in the scientific field, and fascinates me to no end. I thought it was so great for putting that at the end of my main thesis statement and in my title. So anyway, the funny thing is that that I didn't realize at the time is that this essay ended up being pretty unique, because I'll get into this first. So a month and a half goes by, and I'm thinking was not expecting to get a decision yet. I thought maybe mid-November or something, but it was early October, and I'm sitting in my bed watching Twilight, which I don't know why I was doing. Actually, I think it was the fact that I had never watched Harry Potter or Twilight growing up, and my friends were like, you need to watch Twilight just to see what it's about. 7:30 at night, I'm watching this stupid movie, and which is no hate to Twilight fans, I just never really got into it, just like Harry Potter, please don't come for me. Anyway, I'm sitting in my room watching this movie, and I get this notification on my phone, and it's there's been some update to your Berry application portal. And of course, me being the type of person that I am, oh my gosh, what is the update? I never dreamed that would already be my decision letter. I just thought it was some, I don't even know, some update, new terms or something I had to sign. And anyway, I open it up, and the first thing I see is this confetti and the word congratulations, and then you've been accepted to Berry or something like that. And I'm like, and I just sit there in my bed for a full minute, there's no way already. What? There's no way. And also, you have to realize, everyone in my house goes to bed super early, 9:30, 10 o'clock, especially my parents. And I think my dad was away on a trip or something at that point, because I remember going to my mom's room being like, I don't even care if she's asleep, I have to tell her now. And I go into her room, and I'm like, Mom, I got into Berry, I don't have to apply to any other schools. And she's like, what? That's great, I knew you would, and was out of it. And then because she's so out of it when she's asleep, it's hilarious. Or when she's waking up, or it's just, I don't know, she's been acting in our house that she's the one to just say things she's dreaming about or whatever. Pretty funny. Anyway, so she's mumbles some incoherent thing besides congratulations, and then goes back to sleep. And the next morning, I think it was the next day or the day after, anyway, I get this, one of those big mailing packages, envelopes things filled with the official copy of my acceptance letter, and I think it was some info packet, and then my scholarship info, which actually made me able to attend Berry, so that was really cool. And then I also got an invitation to apply to the honors program. I'm thinking there's no way, what? And the guy writing about how unique my essay was or something. It was funny. I thought, yeah, that cool essay sealed the deal. Like, oh my gosh. And anyway, I see this thing of like, oh, you're invited to apply to the honors program and to come to this special honors dinner on mid-November. I think it was like November 15th or something. And I think, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then I go online and I'm like, oh my gosh, only 10% of students are accepted to the honors program. I'm not qualified for that. There's no way. And I was almost not even going to apply. My mom's like, you need to apply. Like, just see what'll happen. I think you're qualified enough for this. And I'm always selling myself short. Like, it's, I don't know. I just feel like I just always want to stay humble. But then I get too humble and I too in my head. And I'm like, okay, I have to take a step back and be like, okay, I actually have worked really hard to be where I'm at right now. Like, it's not just a fluke, because all throughout freshman year and even honestly now, I kept thinking like, yeah, I'm just here because of chance or luck. And my roommate and I would talk about that a lot. And we're like, no, we're actually here because we worked really hard. And I had to be somewhat smart to make it this far. Anyway, so I'm sitting there going through all this stuff, and my mom eventually just convinced me to apply to the honors program. And we had to write another essay for that. And I'm sure you all are just dying to know what I wrote about for my honors application essay. And I remember clearly reading the prompt, and it was something like, if you could study any other topic or pick another major besides the one you're planning on studying, what would it be and why? And they actually told me this later, that most animal science students put biology or biochemistry or chemistry or environmental science or something like that. And then I was the only one from my cohort to put religion and philosophy. And you're probably like, why is this girl, you and my the honors committee were probably like, why is this girl who is so passionate about science and wants to double minor in science, major in science, and write her whole essay on science, write this whole massive paper on why she would study religion as her second choice? And basically it just stems from, I've always loved theology. I had a really good Bible teacher in high school and middle school, honestly, that taught me a ton. It was just really cool. All these just really advanced theological topics. And then when I was 17, I got a chance to take this Theological Foundations for Leaders class through my church, taught by my church's elders. And we got into like some really deep philosophical questions. And I've never really been a surface level person. And so getting to like discuss these questions that I've honestly had for a really long time, and kind of figuring myself out and what I believe and why, and like defending your faith and everything, that all is really interesting and important to me. And so getting to take a class like that and learn some, I don't even know, like, what's the right word? Just some, like, I guess, interpretations or answers to those questions was just really cool. So anyway, that's where all this was kind of stemming from. Was like, I had just finished taking this class. That was the other funny thing in this class, is that I was the only person remotely my age in this class. Like, this was a class that was mainly for like adults, kind of like who wanted to be in like church leadership positions one day. It was not meant for teenagers. So everyone's like, and this was also on Zoom because it was during COVID. And so all these people are going around. It's like all these couples at least in their 30s and 40s with the teachers who are at least in their 60s. And then it was me, this little single 17-year-old girl. I mean, I was the only person like by myself. Like, everyone else was taking it with their husband or wife. Like, it was kind of insane. And then they're all looking at me like, why is this 17-year-old girl in this like advanced theology class? Like, what is she doing here? But my high school mentor like kind of walked me through it, and she's like, no, good for you for sticking it out and like being different and studying this. Like, this is really cool. So anyway, that's kind of where this essay is stemming from, all of that. And I thought I would read you all a little snippet from that as well to kind of give some background. So this isn't my first paragraph, but it's reasonably close to the front. 8 pages of this. And the funny thing is that I didn't realize at the time, but the assistant director to the honors program who helped write my, or signed my, invitation to the honors program and eventual acceptance letter to the honors program, is a religion professor at Berry, obviously. And so he's actually my first religion professor that I had at Berry, or my only religion professor. He's my first humanities professor at Berry. And he basically invited me to come to this national honors religion conference my second semester at Berry and present this big research paper that I wrote in his honors religion class the semester before. So that was really cool. And I never dreamed, when I wrote this essay, that I would have a chance to do anything with this passion in college. And it's just really cool that I did end up able to do something with it. So anyway, without further ado, here is a little paragraph from this essay that basically helped get me into the honors program. So, one reason why I wish to study religion and philosophy further is to research the answers to some of life's most pressing questions, such as, what is our purpose? Is there a higher being? Why is there so much evil in the world? And why does humanity even exist? Throughout my teenage years, I strived to research these questions and answers to humanity's existence instead of just accepting what I had always been told. After taking different religion and rhetoric classes in high school, and especially after taking a 10-week course in leadership and theology taught by my church's elders, I was able to gain a new perspective on the answers to some of these pressing questions. However, I still desire to build upon the foundation of knowledge I gained throughout high school to develop a stronger worldview. I hope to always challenge the status quo for the answers to these questions and to continually search for new and different perspectives on the explanations for humanity's greatest inquiries. Yeah. I can see you're probably like, who is this girl? What is happening? Yeah, that's just kind of an insight into my brain. So anyway, after writing that, I decided to go to this honors dinner. And we drive up there and we stay at the Country Inn and Suites in Rome, Georgia. My mom and I took her new to her BMW convertible from the 90s. She traded her minivan in for that once my brother and I learned to drive. And that was her cool mom car. And if you're not familiar with Berry at all, basically there's the main college campus, and then kind of like diagonally across this intersection is the Martha Berry Museum in Oak Hill, which Oak Hill is basically like this plantation house area where Martha Berry, our founder, I know we weren't named after fruit, I'm sorry to disappoint, where she kind of grew up and lived from like the late 1800s, early 1900s, things like that kind of period in history. So basically there's like this colonial style house where she lived, and then kind of the museum, and then off to like kind of the left is this new pavilion area where it's kind of enclosed, where we had this dinner at. And so we're there, and the president and the provost at the time were kind of talking with everyone. They had other faculty members. They were all talking, and we get there, and they're all talking with everyone. And, we had this table. It was just, for me, it had my name on it. So when I sit there, and we noticed pretty quickly, like as we're eating our dinner, that all these faculty members are coming up, looking at my name, and then walking away and going to talk with everyone else except us. Basically, we were like, looked like we had the plague or something. I'm like, okay, we're wearing masks, so we're not eating. Like, I don't know why no one's coming to talk to us. My mom even looks at me and she goes, are you giving people dirty looks or something? Why is no one talking to you? And I thought, yeah, this is kind of weird. I'm like, they're literally talking to everyone else besides me. Like, this is like taking me flashbacks to middle school. I don't like this. What's happening? And I was sitting, I'm like, okay, but I'm like eating my dinner, not worrying about it. The president and provost both give some remarks. I remember the provost talking about how everyone gives organic chemistry a bad rap, but in the long run, it's fine. It's not that bad. Spoiler alert, it was pretty bad. It wasn't as bad as physics, but like I wouldn't willingly take it again. But she got her PhD in organic chemistry, so she was like, oh no, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. She's not even our provost anymore, so it's fine. But anyway, and the president and he's like this sweet little old man, so I'm like, oh, he's so nice, like he already looks so nice and everything. But I still couldn't figure out, why no one was talking to us. And then the next morning, we kind of the parents had some breakfast thing that my mom went to, and then I, went to the student section, and I go into this tent, and for Barry people listening, it was between Craner and the cage, kind of like that lawn area, and, I get this folder, all this admissions info, and I tell them my name, and they're like, oh my gosh, Olivia Gilmore, you're, famous in the admissions department. I'm like, why? They're oh, you're, the first person that was accepted to Barry and pay your deposit. You're the first person out of your class to do that. And I'm thinking, really? Me? I was like, yikes. Guess it's pretty obvious that I want to come here and I'm ready to get out of high school. So anyway, they're all going off about all this, and they're like, oh my gosh, your history was so cool, and we all remember it, and I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. And then as I'm walking away from that, it all kind of clicks to me. I'm like, oh, wait a second. The reason why none of those professors were talking to me last night was because they already know that I've paid my deposit. I think that's why. They're not trying to, get me to come here or anything. They already know, I'm set. Clearly, if I'm the first person out of the class to do that, they already know that I'm coming here. So they're not trying to, get me or convince me to come. They already know. And I thought about that for a while. And then my mom and I reunite. They had this other closing remarks or something for that day up at the Ford buildings. They had this recital hall, because the Ford buildings is basically, if you Google Berry College, the Ford buildings are gonna be the first thing that pops up. It's this big castle complex with these pretty reflecting pools, and everyone comes there to take their senior pictures, their wedding pictures, their quinceañera pictures, all their types of pictures. People from the community come out. It's the really most picturesque part of Barry. It's probably why we're named one of the most beautiful campuses in the world, or because of these buildings that were basically gifted to Martha Barry from Henry Ford, the inventor of the Model T, literally him. And I'll tell you right now, they're not that pretty on the inside. They're basically 2 sets of dorms, and then home to our music department that also just got this new, at the time, recital hall. So that's where these closing remarks were held. And basically the Ford buildings are kind of half a mile up this road from the main part of Barry. And then past the Ford buildings is also where that the old animal science building was that I talked about earlier. So kind of that little complex area. It will one day be home also to our chicken coop. It wasn't at the time, but it is now. So that will come into play later. In a later episode, you'll have to stay tuned for everything chicken related, because that was a roller coaster. But anyway, so we're sitting in this recital hall, and the admissions director gets up there and gets these cards that he wrote, remarks to every single person who was in that room, who would apply to Barry, regardless if they had accepted their acceptance yet or not. For every person who had not applied, who had been accepted to Barry, who'd been invited to this dinner event thing, he wrote remarks to each person. So he gets up there and he has that person raise their hand. He finds them in the crowd and reads them this really sweet card that he wrote about each of them from their essays and application and stuff. And so he's going to the line, and of course, as I am with any situation where I have to get up and raise my hand and be the center of attention, I don't like it at all. And so I'm dreading it. And I'm like, when's he going to call my name? I know it's going to come. And of course, I'm the last person. And I noticed he was ending off every other person's little card with, "We hope you find a home at Berry College." Then he gets to me and he reads this whole thing about how he can tell how inquisitive I am, and how introspective I am. You know what? I wonder if I still have it, because I've put it on it's been in my dorm desk for so long. I would carry it around to each dorm room I lived in. I'm going to go try to find it real quick and let you know. Let me go find it real quick, because it might be in my room. Hopefully I'll be able to find it. Hold on one second. Okay, you guys, I found it. So on the front, it says, "Hi, Olivia. I wanted to share the message I read to you at the Honors Recognition event at Berry College. Happy Thanksgiving," because I got it the next week. And, oh my gosh, I can't even, this card, okay, for context, this card has been displayed on every desk that I've had at Barry because I've had a lot of hard moments where I'm like, I don't know why they picked me. I don't know why I'm here. Just a lot of like imposter syndrome and stuff when I've had some pretty difficult classes that I've had to deal with. And every time I'd look over, I would see this card and be like, oh yeah, they believed in me at one point. Like they thought I could do this. I'm here for a reason. So yeah, if any Barry admissions people are listening, I don't know if you still do these cards, but this card helped me through some very hard exam seasons. So anyway, it says, Dear Olivia, one day, standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon, I was instantly struck by the magnitude and beauty of what I saw. Even though the other side of the canyon was miles away, I felt as if I could just reach over and touch the wall. It was immense in size, yet digestible to my eyes. Whenever I am in awe of something big or small in size, I am drawn back to that moment and consider the wonder of things that are a challenge to grasp. The vastness of our universe confounds even the most brilliant minds, and because of this, the pursuit of understanding it leads one to all sorts of treasure. Your inquisitive character has led you to a passion for science, and in particular animal science. You already showed great promise by how you've not only dreamed of veterinary medicine, but have immersed yourself in the work. With this foundation, you will find Barry College as the perfect next step towards your goal of one day owning a small animal clinic. We are so glad you found a home at Barry College. And I remember that difference of, we're so glad you found a home at Barry College, not we hope you find a home at Barry College, being like, oh yeah, like they, I guess, already know that I'm coming here, and that's why no one talked to me last night. And I told my mom that. She's like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. She's like, I thought you were giving everyone dirty looks. I'm like, Mom, I'm not giving everyone dirty looks. Like, I don't know why you think I do that, but I don't. Anyway, and you know, at the lunch the next day, everyone was really nice, and did talk to me. So anyway, flash forward to that February of 2021, and I was going to this event called the Decision Berry, which was for all accepted students, because I thought, okay, I finally need to meet people in my class, like this is so exciting. And this event was on Valentine's Day. I remember this clearly because this was the first time that I convinced my parents to let me go up to a room by myself and stay in a hotel room by myself, because at that point I was 18 and I was able to check into a hotel room by myself. So I was like, Mom, I can do this on my own. Like, and she's like, you can go. I already kind of know all the info that I need to after going to the other event. So they convinced me to go by myself, and this was literally such a milestone adventure for me. Like, I was so excited. And I remember going to this event and met several people who I don't think any of them still go to Barry, which is really funny. And you know, I'd already been in like these like Snapchat group chats for all these people, and you can just tell who these people were by like how they were acting online. Like, I'd never even seen their faces, and I could just tell. I was like, oh, this one girl, like, I'm pretty sure that's her, just because like the way people act in person, or wait, at least this way this girl acted in person was very similar to the way she acted online. And she doesn't go to Bear anymore, but I don't know how to describe it. There's just like a certain part of the Barry population that there's just very interesting. I don't really know like how to describe them, but like this girl just like was the epitome of that category. Just gave off really weird vibes, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like, be yourself, whatever, but like I just don't like, I don't vibe with that. Like, it's just kind of weird. So anyway, of course she's in my group, and I was with these other people, and I'm just like, I just know we're not, like, I'm not gonna get along with these people, which is fine. I'll be nice to them, I'll be pleasant to them, but I know we're not gonna be friends. Like, that's just how it is. Not to be weird, not to be judgmental. I just knew our personalities would be very different. And so, anyway, I get through that, and finally I'm like, okay, it's Valentine's Day, and I have my own hotel room. And I literally wrote in my journal, I'm like, I'm pretty sure everyone else is having sex around me, but I'm just gonna chill here with my heart-shaped pizza and watch Netflix, because I'm that bitch, is basically what I wrote in my journal. And, yeah, I literally did that. I went and got this specialty heart-shaped pizza from Papa John's. You cannot get more like single girl on Valentine's Day stereotype than what I did, because I literally went to Papa John's and I got this heart-shaped pizza for myself And then I went to Kroger and got this very specific flavor of Ben & Jerry's ice cream that it's the churro-tastic something. I don't know. It's got cinnamon churros in it. Anyway, normally my favorite flavor of ice cream is cookie dough, except for this specific Ben & Jerry's churro ice cream, because I'll fight anyone on this. It is the best ever. Like, I don't know what it is. The cinnamon butter they put in it. It's just really good. And I ended up having this ice cream anytime that I was like just really down and like really just like not feeling it. Like anytime I was just going through a lot in college. And so it kind of ruined the flavor for me. Anyway, at the time though, none of this had happened yet. So I got this stupid pizza and this cheap ice cream. I remember thinking like, I'm going to go to this grocery store all the time. This is going to be my grocery store when I'm in college. This is so exciting. Ugh, like just your typical like overexcited freshman, I guess. And anyway, I basically did have my pizza and my ice cream, and I watched some reality show on Netflix, and the next morning got up, went to the second part of this decision day, because actually usually at this decision berry thing you would stay in the dorms, but because of COVID, you know, they weren't allowing that. And I think we toured, that was the day we were touring the residence halls, and I remember like I'm like, I want to live in Ford. I want to live in the castle. And I get in there and we actually toured the guys' part of it. So we actually saw multiple of the guys' rooms, which is funny because, I mean, literally like there were guys living in those rooms at the time. And I guess they were just in class or something, because I remember thinking like it's kind of weird just walking into someone else's space. But yeah, we walked in these random dorms that were just there at, the guy's side's called Claire and the girl's side's called Mary. Named, I think, for anyway, so I go in there and everything was much smaller than I thought, and because the rooms in Ford specifically are just very like disproportionately either small or large depending on which side you are. So you could get a really small room, you could get an extra large room. There's kind of like kind of know in the middle, because a lot of my friends lived in Ford, and it was, I don't know, Barry doesn't publish room sizes because of this. The buildings are really old, and so like each room is like a different size almost. And I remember fighting with the tour guide over like wanting to live in Ford, because she was like, no, you want to live in Molem, which is on main campus. And she's like, it's much more centralized, you'd be perfect for you. Dana's also pretty good, because those are the three kind of main freshman dorms, was Ford, Molem, or Dana, or Morton Lumley's the full name. But anyway, I think like, no, I want to live in Ford. I don't care that it's further away. I want to live in the castle. Spoiler alert, I did not live in Ford. I ended up getting assigned to Molem, which was a time, and we'll talk more about that next week and in subsequent episodes. But anyway, yeah, toward that, I was like, oh, this isn't that nice on the inside. I've been romanticizing this dorm life, and the guys' hall, yeah, it was surprisingly clean. I don't know if they did that just because they knew people were touring it, or it was actually like that. But yeah, Clara wasn't that bad. So anyway, finish up the tour, and then I think I drove around trying to imagine myself as a student. The animal science building at that point, the new one was almost done. So I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to get to have classes there in like a few months. This is so exciting. Anyway, and at the time too, I was done with high school. I had, basically, I mean, I graduated with my class, but I was done in December, and I was just working full time as a vet tech at that point. So I remember taking off of work and going to this thing. And then nothing really happened until mid-April, when, I was reaching out to all these people on the roommate portal, and I remember talking to like, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 people that I just kind of like read their, basically how it works. Like you see this person's profile and they kind of like rank, themselves on like cleanliness and like room temperature, and you felt kind of all that stuff. And then you'd read their bio, and if it sounded kind of similar to mine, I would kind of reach out to them and stuff. And none of them, all of them had other people, but I was kind of talking to a few still just like as friends and stuff. And a couple of them, not that we like ended up being friends, but I ended up meeting my friends through them, if that makes sense. Because I don't think any of those people end up still going to Barry, ironically. Anyway, so I see this one girl in particular, and I remember her stood out to me because at the time she lived on St. Simon's Island in Georgia, which is like an hour south of Savannah. I remember thinking, like, that's so cool that she lives at the beach, because one other fun fact about me is that I love the beach, and I would love to live at the beach. The only, reservation I would have would be hurricanes, but when I got the chance to study abroad in Australia, like, my favorite part was being able to just go to the beach whenever I wanted. That's something I was really jealous of. Anyone who lived by the beach, you could just walk to it. So anyway, she stood out to me because she had this, she had her profile that she lived on the beach, and so that's so cool. And then, I saw we also had really similar things in our bios and similar roommate preferences and stuff. So I think I sent her like some friend request or something on that profile, like, roommate thing, and then followed her, or like requested to follow her on Instagram. And then I remember like her accepting my follow request or something, being like, okay, I need to reach out to this girl. But I was talking to like 3 other people at the time, and just, I think, forgot. And I was pet sitting for my neighbors at the time. I'm literally in their guest room, and I get a DM from this girl. I think we'll call her Hazel. She picked out that name because she, I don't know, liked it. I gave her like 3 options, and she liked Hazel because she thought it was similar to her eye color. So anyway, Hazel DMs me, and she sends this whole thing of like, hi, my name is Hazel, and I think I saw your roommate profile. I think it'd be a really good match. You seem really nice. I'd love to get to know you, see if we'd be good roommates. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, this is great. So we like start talking, and it didn't fizzle out. She didn't have a roommate yet, and I were thinking like, oh my gosh, this could actually work. And we're texting a lot, and then she's like, what if we FaceTime? And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. So I literally remember like planning it all, driving out of work one day, and I get back from work, and I'm in my room for the week while I'm pet sitting for these people. And basically she FaceTimes me, and the first thing she ever said to me was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm really nervous right now. And then I was like, I'm really nervous too, but I think it'll be okay. Like, who knows, this might work out. And we ended up talking for like 4 hours, and we got on really well. And I remember getting off that call thinking like, oh my gosh, what if that's like my future roommate, my future best friend? I don't know. And the funny thing is like 2 days later, because we didn't really establish anything that night, but 2 days later, I go on the roommate portal again, and I see I got added to this group with her and 2 other girls. And I'm thinking, I didn't do this. I don't know. I still to this day, I have no idea who did it. But basically, I didn't know the other 2 girls, and I was like, Hazel, go check this out. Like, I don't know what's going on, but like, we got added to this roommate group. And she's like, oh yeah, I'll go check it out, whatever. And so then she ended up accepting the request, and the other 2 girls left the group, and so then it was just the 2 of us, and that's how it ended up being roommates. Just got added to this random group, so I don't know what happened, but anyway, yeah, little did I know that girl and I would end up traveling the world together, and we're still best friends to this day. I have lots of stories to tell you all about our adventures later on. But she actually graduated early this past May, which is really sad. A lot of my good friends graduated this past year, which is another reason why I'm dreading senior year, because I don't want to do this without them. Shout out to the Berry College class of 2024. Love and miss you, and this year will not be the same without you. That's for sure. Anyway, but yeah, we became roommates, and I think we were like talking pretty much most days leading up to SOAR, which was our summer student orientation, advising, and registration, which is basically where you go and meet other incoming students and get your class schedule and meet your advisor and all that fun stuff. And so I remember like we planned it so like we would meet at SOAR because we wanted to meet obviously before just moving in. And she had a vacation. We were the day we were going to do SOAR, because they had like multiple days throughout a couple weeks, and usually it's actually a 2-day thing, but because of COVID, ours was condensed in 1 day, and the class before us actually had to do theirs online, so I was actually grateful to be able to do it in person. We had to wear masks the whole time, but it was nice to do it in person, nice to meet other people. And I remember thinking like, okay, I've got to plan this so we can go the same day. So we end up I think it was like June 14th or something. Again, took off of work, and I remember her texting me being like, oh, I'm bringing my mom, are you bringing anyone? And being like, no, my parents kind of trust me to just do it just go by myself at this point, because they've already kind of gotten all the info that they need. And they have to work. Not that they're putting their work before their child, but like they kind of just at this point have all the info that they need. So I don't know. Anyway, so I remember checking my hotel and getting ready to go meet this girl. And of course, at the time also I had braces. And now this is a story for a later date. But basically, I have mouth surgery at the end of July, and braces were a precursor to that. And I will get into the whole backstory to this in a later episode. But basically, I was dreading going to this only because I did have braces, and I didn't want anyone first impression of me to be the girl with the braces as an 18-year-old. But anyway, thankfully I think the masks helped, because a lot of people didn't even know. But I think like this girl's gonna meet me for the first time and I'm gonna have braces, and like, oh, I don't like that. But anyway, I remember being in this hotel picking out, okay, I'm like, I gotta wear my favorite flowy pants and this royal blue shirt. I remember thinking like, this first impressions with this girl matter. I don't even know why. I just had like this feeling I was gonna meet my best friend, which is so funny looking back. And we were actually staying in the same hotel too, so it's kind of funny we didn't run into each other before. But anyway, yeah, we met at Texas Roadhouse. I remember driving over there purposely a couple minutes late because I didn't want to be the first one there. And she, I remember like came out to meet me. And I first thought at first like, oh my gosh, she's a lot taller than I thought. Because fun fact, she's actually still like my only friend who's taller than me. So I'm 5'9" and she's 5'10". So, but yeah, she came out, she gave me this big hug and everything. Like, no one's ever like hugged before I even met them. Like, what? And she was like, yeah, super nice. And her and mom were really nice. And we talked for a long time. I remember about my job and everything, because that's always something that comes up. People are like, well, now what do you do? Yeah, that's also something I'll get into in a later episode. My crazy vet job. Because not only am I a vet tech, but I'm a vet tech at a reproductive specialist clinic. So basically an OBGYN for animals, on top of a fertility clinic for animals as well. So you kind of just do it all the repro stuff. And yes, a lot of what you're thinking does come along with that job. I'll spare you the details for now. Because that'll be one of our explicit episodes. No, but anyway, so we talked a lot about bulldogs, because she really wants to own an English bulldog one day named Ferdinand. And I think there was probably like 7 or 8 birthdays in this Texas Roadhouse at the time, which is so funny because if you've ever been to Texas Roadhouse, they basically have this thing where if you tell them it's your birthday, the waiter will bring out this saddle on like one of those baby chair things, rollers, and the person gets on it and like rides the saddle and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, but then yeah, Hazel and I, this past final season to like kind of, I don't know, end off our time as roommates, went to Texas Roadhouse for the first time since June of 2021, and had this whole, what did we get? We got this whole big meals like right before finals, and I got one of those tube shots finally, that like you see in the movies. So yeah, you know, it was just so fun. And then we got hit on by the guy in the Freddy's drive-thru that we went to afterwards. So just a fun day. But anyway, back to SOAR. Hazel and I the next day go to this like, I don't know, welcome event, and then of course we're in separate groups for this like, I don't even know, like they have this big, anyway, basically you go to this big circle with like 2 upperclassmen, and they kind of like walk you through all what to expect your first semester at Barry and advice and stuff, and get to know you things and stuff. And there were a lot of people actually in my orientation class that was going to happen later that semester that were in my group. I remember that. And basically the class is called BCC 100. So BCC 100 is like this orientation class. So if I say one or the other, it's basically the same thing. Anyway, I do all that. And I leave there thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be like so fun. College, great. I know all these people, whatever. And oh my gosh, was I in for a roller coaster of a ride. Anyway, then we did this big trip my family planned a couple weeks later to California, where we drove this RV around from Death Valley up to Yosemite and Sequoia and LA and this whole shebang. So Anyway, did all of that, did this big trip, super fun. Also in lieu of going to Canada because the border was still closed, which is why we did that trip. But spoiler alert, we did end up going to Canada last summer actually, and we took Hazel with us, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, we get back and I got my braces off the day before moving to college, and I remember my mom couldn't even help move me in the next day because she had this big work retreat. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, my mom's unable to help me. Like, this is so frustrating. But, my dad came and helped me. And the funny thing is that the same retreat a year later actually prohibited my mom from coming with me to drop me off at the airport when I went to study abroad in Australia. So my dad not only helped move me into college on my first day, first year, but also was the one to take me to the airport when I went to study abroad. So kind of funny. And he was the one who, actually, no, this year, both my parents were the ones to move me into my apartment. So, anyway, but yeah, I remember, like, being so excited, and, like, loading up all my stuff, going to IKEA, getting all the dorm stuff, loading it all up in the back of my mom's car, and my car was stuffed because at the time I was driving this really old Toyota RAV4, and it still had the spare tire on the back. It had a tape player in it, and a cigarette lighter. So that gives you an indication of how old it was. It was pretty old. And I no longer drive that car, but, sentimental value was what that car had. Anyway, that morning, I move in, pack all my stuff. Literally, there was only room in my car, I remember this, just for me, like, to drive. Like, that was it. I couldn't see in the back. Every time you move in college, it's like a safety hazard driving because, like, you cannot see out of your rearview mirror at all. Passenger side was full. Everything was full. And looking back, I took way too much stuff. Like, seriously, if you're moving to college, I'll take this now. If you do not use what you're planning on taking to college now, you're probably not going to use it in college unless it's like a shower caddy and I don't even know. Literally, like, that's it. Maybe a shower caddy and like a lanyard or something. No, actually, okay, look, I'll tell you now. If you're a freshman or an incoming freshman in college, do not, I repeat, do not wear a lanyard around your neck. It literally gives you away so quickly that you're a freshman. No one past their first semester wears a lanyard around their neck. I'm telling you now. Like, you can have one, like, for your ID or whatever. Don't wear it around your neck. It gives you away. It's a dead giveaway that you're a freshman. So anyway, pack all my stuff, load it in, and I don't even know. As I was driving away, that was the first time being like, oh, it finally hit me of, oh yeah, I'm not gonna live at home anymore. Like, I'm literally gonna be on my own. And I'm like, oh, then of course start spiraling on the drive up, like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm gonna fail everything, and like, oh my gosh, I can't. Oh, I can't do it. You know, like one of those. And I'm finally like, okay, you need to calm down. Like, it's gonna be fine. My dad moves me in, and I remember thinking, like, just dreading of, like, oh my gosh, she's gonna walk away, and like, I'm gonna be alone, and like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. Anyway, we get there, and they have these things, these people, the Berry Bellhops, and they basically, like, these upperclassmen volunteering to help the freshmen move in. Well, of course, they're all busy by the time we got there, so my dad and I moved everything ourselves. We were on the 3rd floor of Lemley Hall, because there's the Morton side and there's the Lemley side, and the whole building is kind of shaped like a T, and it's kind of like the last building. If you drive down the main road of main campus on Berry, you go all the way to the end, and you get to Molem. So this building is like one of the oldest on campus. At the time when I moved in and lived there, it was 100 years old. Very old building. Probably only been renovated once, if being completely honest. It's also the place where it's known that everyone smokes weed at. Learned that very quickly. The whole building reeked of weed the whole year. There was very poor ventilation in the room. So if someone smoked weed basically in the whole building, or like below us or above us or next to us, well, not above us, but like next to us or something, then we would smell it and get secondhand high, if that's even possible. So anyway, so I'm moving all my stuff up, and Hazel and her parents are already there, And she's like, oh my gosh, hi, and everything. Oh my gosh, like I'm literally living in this room with this girl. This is crazy. And it's actually funny because her dad told me later that he's like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad for your dad because you had so much stuff and everything. Yeah, I brought way too much because I was overexcited and overpacked for sure. And I remember my other thing is like I get there and, you know, of course my stuff's still in bags all over the room. I hadn't unpacked it yet. And I remember Hazel saying in her roommate bio that she like really likes a clean room. And I'm thinking like, I'm so sorry, Hazel. Like my stuff isn't like clean yet. Like I need to put everything away. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're fine. Because at that point, like I was so just over the top, like worried about what everyone thought about me and not doing well and like all this stuff. And so I don't know why I was like that anyway, but kind of joke later that like she was kind of so far the other direction of like whatever kind of free for all doing like not like crazy but like I don't know, she would be the one to like go to parties and have people over, and I was the one like I'm going to bed at like 10 p.m. every night, like I have to be on a strict schedule and like I have to do well blah blah, and we kind of ended up meeting in the middle later on. I calmed way down and she calmed way down, so kind of funny to look back on. Anyway, her parents dropped her off, my dad said goodbye, and everything just sitting there. Like I think she went out at some point, I forget like why or whatever, but I also woke up that morning with horrendous cramps, which like for me, I don't it's like there's like literally like a jackhammer on my stomach. Like it is horrible. Like every 3 months I'll get like the period from hell, and of course this was one of them. So I remember wearing these dark shorts because, you know, if you're a girl, you know. And I, you know, eventually had to go change my tampon. So I'm thinking, oh, this is a great first, you know, impression of a communal bathroom. Let's see what's up. And the way this building is constructed, okay, it's a T. So the front part of the T is the Morton side, and then you have like kind of long stem is the Lumley side. And the bathroom is kind of like right in the middle where the two intersect, kind of on the side. And also the way the building is constructed is that there's kind of like a slope, so the Morton side's like probably a foot lower to the ground overall than the Lumley side. So there's stairs to go down to the bathroom from the Lumley side. And there's kind of like 4 stalls set up, of course with like these 2-inch cracks in them because America, like why do you design your bathrooms like this? And there's kind of like showers in the back and stuff. So I go into the first stall off the stairs because, you know, whatever, and change out my tampon, and then this other girl walks in. I didn't notice this immediately. She kind of sits down like right by the sinks, like across from the stalls. And then I walk out, and she's like, oh my gosh, kind of stares at me, and I'm like, okay. She's like, good on you for using organic tampons. That's really great. And I'm thinking, excuse me, like how would you know that? Like, unless you're just watching me through the cracks, but I don't think the cracks that big that you would see what brand of tampon I'm using. Like that's a little weird. And so I was like, okay, and then just like run out of there as fast as possible. And then I look and I'm like, and as I'm walking up the stairs, I look down and I realize, oh my gosh, you can completely see into the first stall if you're standing on top of the stairs, like entirely like into it. So she probably saw everything that was going on, which, what the heck? Like normal people would just glance at that, and then you don't look, like you just keep walking, right? Even if you can see it, that's a little weird. But you know, there's no shortage of interesting people at Perry that I would learn later on. And yeah, probably saw the whole thing. I'm like, what? And I'm also like, who would design a bathroom like this? This is so weird. So I should have known then. I should have known then that college would be an adventure. Anyway, I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, this girl just watched me change my tampon, and now she's one of my hallmates. This is kind of weird. What? Run back to the room. Kind of traumatized. Thinking like, I'm never going to that bathroom again. What the heck? Anyway, you know, obviously I had to use that bathroom again, but never used that stall ever again. And every time I'd walk down the stairs, you could totally tell when someone was using it or not. You just turn your head the other way and keep walking. But anyway, go back to the room, and that night, Hazel and I went to Moe's, because the dining hall wasn't open yet. I remember that very clearly, going in and being like, oh, it's locked, we can't go in here. But yeah, I went to Moe's, got my classic chicken tacos, and then we drove up to Mountain Campus, which, if you're not familiar with Barry, it's basically like 3 miles up this road we call it Stretch Road. And it's kind of home to our Windshape College program, which was founded by Chick-fil-A's founder, Truett Cathy. And he kind of founded this special program for Christian students, kind of like an extra, I don't know how to describe it, an extra program on top of college, and they kind of live in their own separate dorms up there and stuff, and everyone jokes on campus that they're a cult and all this stuff. But yeah, they have their own dorms. There's also a like summer camp, and it's also home to our equine center, and they have a retreat center up there, and our observatory, all that kind of stuff. So, well, our observatory is literally just like a stack of, I don't know, like wood planks in a field, but anyway, there's like ropes courses and stuff, and then we have our like famous Mountain Day traditions and stuff up there, which Mountain Day kind of makes Barry itself a cult, but that's a story for another day. So anyway, just fun college things. So we drive around there. There's also a chapel up there where there's a lot of weddings and stuff. It's called Frost Chapel. And Martha Berry's vacation home called House of Dreams. There's like a 5-mile hike that you can do to see her house on top of Lavender Mountain, which is also up there. There's a lot of cool hiking. There's a lake and a pond, and the old mill, which is another thing you'd see, Barry Staple if you Google it. Google Barry. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. But yeah, the old mill is kind of like this historic, literal mill from the 1930s that is kind of famous on Barry's campus as well. But so Hazel and I think we drive to the old mill, and we drive to Frost Chapel, and we park and we walk around and stuff. I think like, oh my gosh, I'm literally on my own now. This is crazy. And yeah, we drive back to the room, and the next morning we had this big kickoff ceremony for Viking Venture, which is our kind of like orientation week before all of the upperclassmen come back. It's in our gym called the Cage Center. It's like our big, like our Ox gym is where they have this. So like there's like 800 freshmen in this big arena area, and I remember like Dina students coming out making all these remarks about our class and blah blah blah, and then all of the student mentors and faculty who'd be teaching that PCC 100 class were kind of down at the bottom of the gym, or kind of up in the bleachers. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's my mentor. Like, so exciting. And then we all kind of meet and congregate outside afterwards, this big kickoff ceremony. And I immediately befriend these 2 girls that I had been talking to, I think through like Instagram or something, because we figured out we were in the same BCC class. And I think I remember meeting my mentor too, going on a tour like of all the science building and where my classes would be and all that. And then getting to lunch, so the dining hall was finally open, and we're sitting with these 2 girls. I think we'll call them Ivy and Jessica. I don't know, there's word names just came to me, I don't know why. And I'm sitting there with the 2 of them and like majorly third wheeling. This has happened multiple times in high school and stuff before, so I was used to this, where these 2 girls are just hitting it off, and I'm kind of just there like, like, you 2 are gonna be besties, and I'm just gonna be here, and that's like totally fine. But it's kind of awkward because I'm just sitting there like eating my ravioli, like, I'm just gonna go now. And also like the way our dining hall set up, this is crucial for this, my first real embarrassing moment of college. There's kind of like a lower part where it's like a stir fry station and a drink station, and then like in the middle and stuff there's all these chairs you can sit, and then up maybe 3 steps we have like our main entree station to the right, and then more seating and pizza bar to the left, and then like kind of conveyor where you put all your stuff, and there's also seating outside. So Ivy, Jessica, and I are sitting on in the outside area, kind of, what is it called, Kilpatrick Commons, kind of like the area outside the dining hall, I don't know why. And we're sitting on these tables, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm good. I'm like, I'm just gonna go. You 2 be friends, like that's great. I'll meet other people, but this is really awkward for me to just be sitting here and you 2 are talking about things that I have no interest in, and it's just like kind of weird. So I leave, and I'm going back to the dining hall, putting up my dirty dishes, and walking up those 3 little stairs, and trip and fall and spill ravioli sauce all over me. It is in my hair. It is on my shirt, my face, I'm sure. I've blocked a lot of these things out, just all over the floor. And, you know, like you hope you have a moment like that and like no one notices and just keeps talking to whoever's at their table. no, everyone turns around and looks directly at me. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I have sauce all over myself. Like, I look like a 2-year-old who has no silverware trying to eat their food. This is really embarrassing. I'm sure there's sauce all in my hair and whatever. And everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Just leave me alone. Like, I don't want to be around anyone else right now. This is so awkward. So, like, dump my stuff, run back up the, like, indoor entrance, to the dining hall. It's on the first floor of our Cranert Student Center. Run back up these steep stairs, which I learned later, a lot of people trip down those stairs. Run out the door, run kind of the back way past the gym, back to MOLA. Change out my clothes, which thankfully I don't think a lot of people saw me. Like, this girl covered in sauce running down the road probably looked insane. But thankfully I don't think I saw a lot of people. Change my clothes and then go on this tour of our animal units. But oh my gosh. And I think on that tour actually I ended up explaining to people in my car what I do at my clinic. And they were like, oh my gosh, the uncensored edition. And they're like, oh my gosh, what? That's crazy. And I'm thinking, I'm finally around people who actually want to hear what I do and don't think it's completely gross and disgusting. So that was cool. But anyway, I think, what did I do the next day? We had like more orientation stuff. Oh, we had Rage in the Cage, which is big like blowout party thing they host for the incoming freshmen. And I took a Polaroid picture with a ton of people I don't know and this one girl who would become very crucial in my life. Not in the best way later on. But more on her later. So anyway, the next day, I'm like sitting in my room. And I think we don't think we had a lot planned for that day and everything. Like, there's no way, like, I'm going to be able to pass college. Like, I'm going to fail, you know, just like all those things. Like, I haven't been to school in 8 months. Like, I'm going to forget how to study. Spoiler alert, I was fine. But, you know, like, you just have those moments where you're like, I can't do this. And the next day, because the rest of my family couldn't be there on move-in day, they were coming up to see me. And I remember that morning, actually, I went with Hazel to this church called Seven Hills, which is actually a plant of Perimeter Church where I have been going, since like I was in like first grade. We live right by that church now, but they're this massive mega church in Atlanta, and went to school there, all the things, and I remember several people telling me like, you gotta check out Seven Hills, it's a perimeter plant and all this, and I actually walk in there. And I see my old youth pastor and his family, because they had just moved there very recently. And thinking like, oh my gosh, this is like we're meant to be. And like everyone was super friendly and stuff. So Hazel and I went there, met lots of Barry people. And then this is also the day that like all of the returning students came back. So they were moving in. And my family drove up to see me that afternoon. And the first thing I think of like is, oh my gosh, they're going to leave me in like 3 hours. They're going to drop me off. And I'm going to be here by myself. And they're going to drive back home. Like, I can't do this. You know, just like that. So they picked me up. And we went to Mellow Mushroom. We had a really nice dinner. And then, or more like lunch dinner combined. Because it was like 4 p.m. And then we walk around Barry. And I give them the big tour. And Hazel was gone. I don't know where she was. But my parents didn't end up meeting her. Well, my dad met her, but my mom didn't end up meeting her until that next semester. So they walked around. I remember my dad loving the Cage Center, which is our gym, because we do have a really nice gym. And walked around there, showed them the outside of our other buildings, and then they went back to Mellon. We took a picture in my dorm, and they walked out and everything, like, don't leave me. And my mom being like, I'll bring your dog Skip next month, I'll come visit you, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I can't do this, I'm starting college tomorrow. Like, oh my gosh, there's no way. Gosh, thinking about all this, I cannot believe it was 3 years ago. I can close my eyes and it can be yesterday. I still remember exactly how I felt and what I was wearing and what I was doing. I kind of remember everything. It's kind of a curse. Anyway, they walked off and drove back and everything, like, like, I can't do this. But you know what? I sucked myself up and I went to class the next morning, and I think that is where we'll leave it today, and we'll pick back up there next week. I promise that this week and next week are going to be the only, like, chronological podcast. Like, what's happening outside? There's like all these ambulances and someone just honked their horn. I live next to a road. It's very fun. Anyway, I promise these are the only 2 episodes that are going to be in chronological order that are going to be somewhat boring. But I feel like I have to set the scene for how I even ended up at Barry in the first place because it's just important to have that context, you know? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I think that's where we'll end it this week. And next week we'll kick it off with my first week of college. And because I'm starting my first week of college next week, which is crazy. And my first weekend of college too, because Hazel was kind of put through the ringer that weekend. And it's kind of just a precursor to later college anyway. And I don't even know, quite the time. We'll just put it that way. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. And best of luck to all of you who are starting school right around now. I know it can be kind of hard, kind of difficult, kind of weird. So, best of luck to all of you. With that, wish me luck applying to vet school, because that's due in a couple weeks, which is crazy. Oh my gosh. The moment I waited for so long and worked towards for so long, it's finally here, which is completely insane. And yeah, if you want more behind the scenes footage of my life, you can check out my Instagram. It is at the Liv Gilmore. And finally, one shameless plug for my new crochet shop, which is on Etsy, and I also have an Instagram account for it. It's Lots of Loops by Liv. And Liv's kind of a tribute to my Australia days, because they shorten everything over there, and they would just call me Liv automatically. So it's kind of where that nickname came from. But yeah, if you want to check out some cool handmade things that I make when I'm stressed, you can look at my crochet shop. All right, well, I think that's where I'll end it today. So I will see you all next week, and best of luck starting school. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Introvert's Guide to the College Roller Coaster Ride. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a positive review and share with your friends.